speed means freedom of the soul. The question is not when we're going to stop, but who is going to stop.
Join me on a journey where getting lost is the only true destination.
These are the main concepts of this video. 1. The Matrix. We live in a computer simulation that we will call the Satan set-on Matrix. 2. The Bible Torah is the book of the Matrix, the Satan set-on Matrix. The Pentateuch, Christian Bible, includes the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The Torah is the compilation of the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. The code found inside the Bible, Torah, is a computer program created by a higher intelligence. Artificial intelligence? Quantum computer? In the Bible Torah, we can find every kind of information related to past, present, and future events of the Matrix. That is a computer simulation. Every information about each individual and world events is contained in the Bible Torah code.
I know of no one who has ever made this claim before, but I rather suspect that my experience is not unique. What perhaps is unique is the fact that I am willing to talk about it. We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
New York City, it's March 7th.
Well, partly it's taken to these very strange images that are behind your head right now. These are pictures of equations. I've been, for the last 15 years, trying to answer the kinds of questions that my colleagues here have been raising. And what I've come to understand is that there are these incredible pictures that contain all the information of a set of equations that are related to string theory. And it's even more bizarre than that, because when you then try to understand these pictures, you find out that buried in them are computer codes just like the type that you find in a browser when you go surf the web.
You're saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers.
That is correct. So
wait, I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos.
Into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes.
Computer code.
Computer code, strings of bits of ones and zeros.
It's not just sort of resembles computer code. You're saying it is computer code.
It's not even just is computer code. It's a special kind of computer code that was invented by a scientist named Claude Shannon in the 1940s. That's what we find very, very deeply inside the equations that occur in string theory and in general in systems that we could say are supersymmetric.
This is the construct. It's our loading program. We can load anything from clothing to equipment, weapons, training simulations, anything we need.
Right now, we're inside a computer program?
Is it really so hard to believe?
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed.
Restate my assumptions. 1. Mathematics is the language of nature. 2. Everything around us can be represented and understood through numbers. 3. If you graph the numbers of any system, patterns emerge. Therefore, there are patterns everywhere in nature. Evidence. The cycling of disease epidemics, the wax and wane of caribou populations, sunspot cycles, the rise and fall of the Nile.
So, what do you do?
I work with computers, math.
Math? What kind of math?
Number theory, research mostly.
No way, I work with numbers myself. I mean, not traditional. I work with the Torah. Amazing! You know, Hebrew's all math. It's all numbers. You know that? Here, look. The ancient Jews used Hebrew as their numerical system, eh? Each letter's a number. Like the Hebrew A, Aleph, it's 1. B, Bet, it's 2. You understand? But look at this. The numbers are interrelated. Like, take the Hebrew word for father. Av, Aleph, Bet. 1, 2 equals 3. All right? Hebrew word for mother, Aim, Aleph, Mem. 1, 40 equals 41. Sum of 3 and 41, 44. All right? Now, Hebrew word for child. All right? Mother, father, child. Yelad. That's 10, 30, and 4. 44. Torah is just a long string of numbers. Some say that it's a code sent to us from God.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's just kid stuff. Check this out, okay? The word for the Garden of Eden, Kedem. Numerical translation, 144. Now the value of tree of knowledge, all right, in the garden, right? Eitz HaChaim, 233. 144, 233. And you can take those numbers. So
you know, like the Fibonacci sequence?
Fibonacci.
Fibonacci is an Italian mathematician in the 13th century. If you divide 144 into 233, the result approaches theta.
Theta?
Theta. The Greek symbol for golden ratio, golden spiral.
Wow. I never saw that before. That's like that series you find in nature? Like the face of a sunflower?
Wherever the spirals.
You see this math everywhere. Hey, Max?
1326. Restate my assumptions. 1. Mathematics is the language of nature. 2. Everything around us can be represented and understood through numbers. 3. If you graph the numbers of any system, patterns emerge. Therefore, there are patterns everywhere in nature. So what about the stock market? A universe of numbers that represents the global economy. Millions of human hands at work, billions of minds, a vast network screaming with life. An organism, a natural organism. 1018, press return.
Harold? This was the office of Harold Gann, senior cryptographer for the National Security Agency. But now he was absorbed in something else.
You still working on that Bible thing? Your little 386 at home has been crunching numbers for almost 2 weeks now.
19 days, actually. 14 hours and 21 minutes.
Gans knew that equidistant letter sequence was a code form widely used by various governments and their agents. The idea that they would occur in the book of Genesis was hard for him to believe.
I don't know why you're wasting your time. And this thing's either pure coincidence or pure nonsense.
I'm sure you're correct. But Rips designed the original program, and Statistical Science published the findings.
Eliyahu Rips?
Mm-hmm.
He's a world-class mathematician. What's he doing messing with this religious stuff?
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
He found it so difficult to believe that he wrote his own computer program based on his intimate knowledge of encryption techniques with the intent of disproving the results published by Statistical Science.
So here we are, the agency that cracked the Enigma code, the Japanese Purple code. We've got parallel link Cray supercomputers coming out our ears. And our senior cryptologist writes simple equidistance letter sequence codes on a 386. What am I missing here?
Escaped from a dying world looking for a way to extend his own life. Body decaying and weak, he couldn't prevent his own demise. Apparently his whole species was becoming extinct. So he traveled or searched the galaxies looking for a way to cheat death.
I, Thoth the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti, set down for the guidance of those that are to come after, these records of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis.
Probably the significance of what this means if it's true.
Oh, yeah, that all the secrets of the world are encoded in the Torah, and only God could have put them there. Is it?
Is it what?
Is it true?
Hang around a few minutes and I might be able to give you an answer.
What was the significance of these Bible codes? Could there be information encrypted in the book of Genesis having to do with people and places that could not have been known at the time the book was written? If the codes were simply a matter of random chance, the GAN's program would soon reveal it. He was sure his wife would soon be calling to tell him his computer had stopped and the p-value, a numeric representation of probability, was a very large number, and that would be the end of it.
This is Gans. Oh, hi. Did the machine stop running yet? What was that number again?
Well?
As a matter of fact, it is true. I don't think I've ever seen a p-value this small before. The probability that these codes could appear by accident it's virtually non-existent.
What Gans discovered that day was that everything was there, just as the study said it was, firmly fixed in the code. He also knew the controversy was just beginning. Long way since 1450 and Gutenberg's first movable type printing press. Today, this small disk contains the entire Bible. Any passage can be accessed at the push of a button. In just a matter of minutes, everything in the Bible relating to a particular subject can be accessed, collated, and printed out. But you know, for all of our sophistication and technological skill, we haven't been able to improve on the words. What they say and what they represent remains exactly the same. There is something that has recently captivated biblical scholars and scientists alike, however. It is the notion that there might be something more here than just the words that are on the surface. There is evidence that embedded within the Hebrew letters of what the Jews refer to as the Torah, that is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, or the first 5 books of the Bible, there is a code that tells of events far into the future. A code that, according to some, could only have been put there by the original author, God himself. What is there in this book that has captivated the minds and hearts of people the world over for thousands of years? What could there possibly be in the history of a small group of people in a dusty corner of the world that could attract such attention? What is there in the words of these scrolls that has bound a scattered nation together for over 3,000 years? The Old Testament, specifically the Torah, or the first 5 books of the Bible, is, according to its adherents, a history of God's dealings with mankind, and specifically the children of Israel. Yet it is filled with fantastic stories that many scholars insist cannot be true. Was there a series of devastating plagues that overcame the great Egyptian Pharaoh? Did a man called Moses actually receive the 10 Commandments and the Mosaic Law directly from God? Could this same Moses have miraculously opened a pathway through the Red Sea? The critics are relentless. Some even say the Exodus from Egypt never took place and Moses never existed. In a moment, we'll look at these issues through a modern lens and see if recent discoveries in modern technology can provide some answers to these age-old questions. But assuming for the moment that Moses did exist, what are we to make of these new scientific studies that suggest there is more, much more? Today the question being asked in ever-widening circles is simply, Is there information about modern people, places, and events embedded in the ancient biblical text? Is there, in fact, a Bible code? Does this code contain information about Hitler and the Holocaust? About the reestablishment of Israel, the 6 Days' War? Did it actually anticipate the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin? And can it tell us what happiness or horror the future holds?
I was in Israel to meet with the chief of Israeli intelligence on a totally different subject 6 years ago, and I heard by chance about the work that a very famous mathematician in Jerusalem had done. He had found the exact day that the Gulf War would begin in a code in the Bible. And I thought this was just nonsense. I thought it was absurd. I said, I'm not religious, and began to walk away. Then I checked out this mathematician. Eliyahu Rips is no ordinary person. He's the world's leading expert in group theory, the field of math that underlies quantum physics. He's considered one of the greatest mathematicians in the world. So I went to see him. But in my mind, I was certain that, in an hour tops, I would find out why he was wrong. Because this could not be true. There could not be a code in the Bible. No one can know the future. Instead of spending an hour with Dr. Rips, I spent a week with him. And at the end of the week, I knew he was on to something real. 3 weeks before the Gulf War began, Dr. Rips and his colleagues in Israel found encoded in the Bible, Saddam Hussein picked a day, enemy, scuds, and the date. January 18th, 1991, actually the equivalent in the ancient Hebrew calendar. Every major event in world history, every major figure in world history appears to be encoded in the Bible.
The Bible codes are a dramatic demonstration that what we have here really is the Word of God and not simply a historical tradition. These 66 books, penned by 40 different guys over thousands of years, are collectively a supernaturally given and skillfully engineered message system.
Rips pulled down a volume from his bookshelf and read to me, quoting an 18th century sage, a man called the Genius of Vilna. The rule is that all that was, is, and will be unto the end of time is included in the Torah from the first word to the last word, and not merely in a general sense, but as to the details of every species and each one individually, and details of everything that happened to him from the day of his birth until his end. I picked up a Bible from the desk in his study and asked Rips to show me the Gulf War. Instead of opening the Bible, he turned on his computer. The Bible code is a computer program, he explained. On the computer screen appeared Hebrew letters highlighted in 5 different colors, creating a crossword puzzle pattern. The word computer appears 6 times in the plain text of the Bible, hidden within the Hebrew word for thought. 4 of the 6 anachronistic appearances of computer are in the verses of Exodus that describe the building of the Ark of the Covenant, the famous lost Ark that carried the 10 Commandments. The code suggests that even the writing of the laws on the 2 stone tablets may have been computer-generated. And the tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, engraved on the tablets, states Exodus 32:16. But encoded in that same verse is a hidden message. It was made by computer. The code must be describing a device far beyond any we have yet developed. The New York Times recently reported that mankind may be ready to take the next leap, to harness the world inside atoms and create an information processing method so powerful that it would be to ordinary computing what nuclear energy is to fire. This quantum computer, said the Times, could perform in minutes calculations that would take the fastest supercomputers we now have hundreds of millions of years to complete. What the Bible code suggests is that behind the miracles of the Old Testament, there was an advanced technology. The code calls it a computer, but it may only be using the language we can understand, since the root of the same word that means computer in Hebrew also means thought. When the Bible code reveals a computer behind the miracles, it may actually be revealing a mind, but not a mind like ours any more than a computer like ours. What Moses actually received on Mount Sinai was an interactive database, which until now we could not fully access. The Bible that God dictated to Moses was really a computer program. First, it was carved in stone and written on parchment scrolls. Then it was bound into a book, but in the code it is called the ancient computer program. Now the computer program can be played back and reveal the hidden truth about our past and our future. The Bible code itself is encoded in the Bible, and the same words also mean he hid, concealed the Bible. The suggestion is that there is another Bible encoded within the story that is openly told in the Old Testament. The computerized code clearly confirms that it is the seal, the time lock that until now has protected the hidden secrets. Sealed before God actually crosses Bible code. There is a treasure map encoded in the Bible. It confirms that we are looking in the right place. It states that the object still exists today. If we can find the code key, then we might even find the identity of the encoder. Who is the encoder? The scientist who discovered the code, Dr. Rips, already had his answer. The code, like the Bible itself, came from God. It comes from an intelligence that is not merely higher, but different, said Rips. It sees across time, it exists across time. Everything we think and do was anticipated. But I do not assume that the encoder is the creator. For me, the existence of the code does not prove the existence of God. It just proves the existence of the encoder. There is a persistent suggestion in the code that the encoder is in some way still alive. Indeed, the very word encoder in Hebrew also means he is encoding. Again, who is the encoder? The encoder of the matrix is now called An, ruler of the underworld, mistakenly called Hollow Earth. We are now in the abyss that stands between heaven and the underworld. In the first world or first loop of the matrix, he was called Set. In the second world or second loop of the matrix, he was Apsu. In the third world or third loop of the matrix, he was Anu, the father of Enki and Enlil, reptilian beings. Nowadays, in the fourth loop of the matrix, he is called An of Nibiru, aka Satan, and he is the encoder of the Bible, Shiar Torah, and the matrix where we actually exist.
You are Clue. I am Clue. You will create the perfect system. I will create the perfect system. Together we're gonna change the world, man.
Dad, I'm not your father, Sam. And I'm very, very happy to see you.
What am I supposed to do?
Survive. Your father was the creator.
Where do I find him?
Make it there alive, and he'll find you. Here they come!
Your move, Flynn. Come on.
You have to give us the number.
What is it?
The Talmud tells us it began 2,000 years ago when the Romans destroyed the Second Temple. The Romans also destroyed our priesthood, the Kohanim. And with their deaths, they destroyed our greatest secret. In the center of the temple was the heart of the Jewish life, the Holy of Holies. It was the earthly residence for our God, the one God. It housed the Ark of the Tabernacle, which stored the original 10 Commandments which God gave to Moses. Only one man was allowed to enter this Holy of Holies on one day, the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur. On the Day of Atonement, all of Israel would descend upon Jerusalem to watch the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, make his trip into the Holy of Holies. If the high priest was pure, he would emerge moments later, and we were secured a prosperous year. It meant that we were 1 year closer to the Messianic age. But if he was impure, he would die instantly, and it meant that we were doomed. The high priest had one ritual to perform in the Holy of Holies. He had to intone a single word. That word was the true name of God. The true name which only the Kohanim knew was 216 letters long.
The underworld, many mistakenly call Hollow Earth. It is ruled by An, and Lilith is his daughter. In fact, almost all of them were related to An. Jupiter is Zul. Saturn is the gray Ra'el. An is regent of Uranus. Lilith is regent of Venus. And this is how it works. So the story began with Solomon. Solomon made a pact with Set. And this actually created the invasion and established the slave system, what we call the Babylon slave system of Ur. And this created the first ziggurat dedicated to Set. All the history and the images they're using are fake. They're using it as justification to seize land because that's how they set it up. They were promised their own nation, and this is how they were doing it. A group of them got together and formed the coven, and this was Covenant. This statue is of Baal, and these are the 7 candlesticks for the 7 worlds involved. Here they are on their poles, sticks. Ra made himself God, and he owed power to the Solomon line for establishing their rule. Set is actually the ruler of all the underworld. And they gave us all these myths that people look for today.
Now get up.
He is the one.
soul. The question is not when we're gonna stop, but who is gonna stop it.
Join me on a journey where getting lost is the only true destination.